What's tea, y'all? I know some of you are out there right now having a hard time, having problems in your relationships, having trouble with life. Or maybe you're on social media swiping and swiping, thinking, why can't that be me? Why can't I do that? Well, I'm here to let you know that you can. This is Create Your Own Story with Terrell Garnett, where we not only help you create your own story, but we let you tell yours too. Let's get into it, y'all.
I think that's another reason why I don't record my I don't edit my podcast. I don't like the sound of my voice.
I was trying to who made that instrumental though. That was smooth.
YouTube, and then I created, when I tell you I created that intro like 6-7 times, like me talking over it, and like some of them, like if I have to find it, I'll send it to you because it's so funny. Like I sent it to a few of my friends and they're like, "Oh, you can't use that one." I'm like, "Why not?" Like, you sound like a phone sex operator, and I'm like, "Oh, that's what I'm trying to."
I guess how that would be. Oh my god, that's funny.
Way too sensual, and I'm like, "Oh, if I ever not do this, I have another career field to go into." But like I do with all my guests, I'm gonna allow you to introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dagan. I go by the same artist name because I have yet to meet somebody with my name. I make R&B and hip hop music. What else? Yeah, I like to produce all my own music. I like to write all my own music. I mean, not that I do, I just prefer to. My phone is.
Yeah, you're big now.
Yeah, 1 second.
The one time that I'm recording the video. You're good now.
Am I back?
You're good.
Okay. Yeah. So my name's Dagan. I go by the same artist name. I make R&B and hip hop music. I produce and write a lot of my own stuff, but I like to collaborate with people too. Have collaborated with multiple people over the years. I've been like my freshman year of like college, and I've been out of college for like a year now, so it's been like 5 years. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
Cool. Well, thanks for actually even considering and doing the podcast. I had seen, I don't know where I seen you actually on.
Was it Insta?
It was definitely Instagram, but it was somebody had posted you.
Right.
And so I want to say, no, I don't want to make any guesses. But anyway, another artist had posted you. And so I was just like, oh, okay, and I followed you. And then I was like, let me reach out. And, like I did skim your music. So like it almost was like, okay, not to say that you're not, this is going to sound wrong to anybody else, but I'm like, oh, he's good enough to be on the podcast. Because the reason I say that is because I've had somebody on the podcast before, and I'm not going to say any names, and I didn't listen to the music beforehand, and I had them on, and then I played while on the podcast, and I'm like, oh, this isn't good at all. But I got a straight face. I'm not gonna, I'm not no Simon Cowell. I'm not gonna hurt nobody's dreams, but like, this ain't it, babe.
You could just tell. Yeah. Oh boy.
Everything would you say you're a new artist? You're relatively a new artist. How has the transition been from going from being an artist, not with COVID, then COVID coming in, and then now transitioning back into being out of the whole, I shouldn't say COVID, but more so quarantine?
No, it's really funny you mentioned that, because before it had started, I was actually an audio engineer at school. I went to school in Oregon. I went to the University of Oregon. I used to record the live shows, and I actually was working with these people that were in the music school. There was like musicians. There was like a bassist, a drummer, a piano player, and a guitar player. And we were rehearsing like crazy, and we had like 4 or 5 songs ready to go to perform. And we had made some. and COVID hit. That's right before our last term, we were going to start performing and stuff. So not only did I lose that audio engineering job, but I lost out on that band and all that work we put in. So it completely turned my world upside down in terms of music, because I was getting ready I was gearing up for, like this whole kind of push, and it kind of just got like halted. I was like, whoa, like it was a lot to deal with at the time, because I was looking so forward to it, but it was a learning lesson to kind of learn how to like pivot and just like, react to the situation that was in front of me.
Well, that's sad that it like, no, because like some people don't know how to get back up when they are hit with the loss like that. How were you able to, like, what was your next moves? Like for instance, for an example, I remember watching this interview with LaToya Luckett, whom I love to death, from Destiny's Child. And when she was a child, like she said she didn't want to sing anymore. She was going to take the money and she was going to do something that but everything kept basically bringing her back to music. And she was like, okay, this is meant to be, came out with an album, number one single. And so it was her destiny. So how have you been able to navigate, like, not giving up and still pushing forward with, your music?
No, that's a great question, because I think that's just something I can struggle with. And I think artists too in general can struggle with, like the ups and downs of being in like a creative and like trying to keep that steam going. But for me, like what I tend to do is I tend to go, like, I kind of have like a production mode, and then I have like an artist mode. Like, and when I kind of have like, I would say a more down period, I tend to just go into production mode, because I want to speak less words, and I kind of just want to speak through like sound more, I find. Because after that had happened, I went on like kind of like a beat making spree, and I made like 3 every day for like a couple weeks. Like I didn't really want to talk. I didn't really want to think about it. I kind of would just get lost in the music and try to like be in the moment through that. So I would say I kind of just shift to production more when I kind of get in those modes, instead of like focusing on like finishing songs or output. I kind of just focus on like being just purely creative with no goal in mind. I think that's why I go to production when I get in those modes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What got you into like doing music? How did you know that this was a calling for you?
Yeah, I mean that goes way back. So I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and I have a big family. I have like 4 siblings, and there's all these whole videos of us just like dancing like idiots to MTV and like to our home like audio system. Like we would just dance and like sing, and like I used to go to church. Like I had one of them grandmas where she would take me to church every single Sunday, like without fail. And if we miss, like she's on our head top. Like we had that kind of like grandma. So she used to make us sing too. Like when we wouldn't sing, like she would make us sing. Like, so singing has just always been like a part of my life, very integral. And but I actually used to be painfully shy as a kid too, so I never really shared it. And so I've always had a passion for music, and like I grew up on like singers like Lauryn Hill, like India Arie, like just people that like were really good vocal, like Whitney Houston, like all them classic female artists. And as I got older, started to gain confidence, and like started to know who I was more. That started to be less important to me, like the shyness, and I just wanted to be myself more. So that's what kind of brought me to music and like sharing it with the world. I would say that was like the catalyst, really. Yeah.
Okay. So do you still go to church? What would your grandma say right now?
No, I mean it's ingrained in there somewhere. I haven't been in a minute. Like I haven't been in a minute. But I do still put a lot of importance on faith, especially with like what I'm doing, which is like, chasing these dreams and like making music. You don't know what's going to come of it. So it's very faith-based. Like you have to have faith in yourself, in other people, like just in everything, basically. So like, I don't go to church necessarily anymore, but I definitely still operate with that same like faith as like my foundation. Because without it, like I just don't have the same aura or energy about me. if I don't have that.
Yeah, I totally can relate to that and agree. Granted, I do go to church now, but if that was just the start of the end of last year, like November, I started to go again. But before that, I hadn't gone since 2013. So 7-8 years. But like my faith never wavered or nothing like that. I just feel like being in a building, I didn't feel like, like it just wasn't for me in that time period. Not to say that it wasn't for me, because I feel like God's always for everybody, but I just wasn't feeling it in that time period. But me as a person, it didn't change. I felt like that going to church built foundation, and it built what do you call it? What do you call it? Oh, that's the word I'm looking for. A conscience, in a sense.
Right.
So that right there has been, I always tell people, I was like, my faith has gotten me through things that nothing else could have. So let me get into some more dialogue. Let me ask you a question, because, I got these questions here for a reason. What would you say your self-worth is based on?
Ooh, that's a question I've definitely thought about a lot over the years, because the answer has changed definitely. But at my root, I would say my self-worth is based on like my output, like what value am I bringing to both like the world and like to myself? Because again, like I kind of gave you a little preview, like the way I grew up, it was just very like I have to like get good grades, I got to go to church, like my parents and my grandparents are just very like on me, like a lot of pressure, like to perform and to have output. So I would say my self-worth is definitely based on that. I mean, that's why like I think that's why I produce a lot of my own stuff and like mix it, master it, all that stuff, because like I just like I feel like I have a lot of responsibility on my shoulders because of that. So a lot of my self-worth comes from that, kind of just like shouldering that. But now as time has gone on, I've actually tried to step away from that a little bit, because it could be unhealthy as well to always be so fixated on like my output and like my worth tied to that. Because, so like COVID rolls around, I lose my job, I lose the band, I lose these things that are the foundation of my self-worth. And it's like, what do I have left then in terms of worth? Like it can be a dangerous kind of foundation to stand on. And that's actually why I mentioned faith, because to me, that is a much more solid foundation. And I have much more compassion for not only other people, but more importantly, myself, especially when periods of like that come about, of like, adversity. So I would say my self-worth now just comes more from just having faith and like being in the moment and like just being present with people, like independent of music, independent of anything, just day to day people I interact with. I just try to be present and like decent and move with love. I would say when I'm acting in that way, I feel like I have worth more so now. And I've kind of tried to distance myself from the productivity and output as my foundation,
Yeah. Yeah, I can totally sense that from you. You have really good energy and a good aura about you. What was that?
I appreciate that. Like, it is really something I consciously try to focus on, for sure.
Yeah. What would you say what would you say the one thing that you can't tolerate is?
Probably not trying. Like when other people do it and when I don't do it. Like, it goes back to like the output it does, and like excellence. Just when I don't know, when other people don't try, whether if it's like a relationship or we work together or we just interact with one another. I'm just the type of person where I will always put my best foot forward every day. And that may be worse than other days, maybe better other days, but as long as I'm like putting that foot forward, I would say that's one thing I absolutely like just can't tolerate. Like people that don't give me their all, basically, I would say, like effort, like I would say that's what I can't tolerate.
Yeah. And I feel like, so I always tell people, because we use the word try a lot, like, oh, you're not trying hard enough, you're not trying. But I think that people often don't realize that Like the only time you can try in something is when you know that you can't succeed in it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you succeed in something, it wouldn't be trying, it would just be doing.
Fact.
A lot of times people, they really don't try. They give you the bare minimum. Whether it be in relationships with friends, family, lovers, or at work, or just, you know, in everyday life, they give the bare minimum. So I love that answer. But I'm going to play one of your songs now.
For sure.
So this one's going to be Pink Ocean.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
For sure. Before you play it?
Or do you want to do before, after? It's up to you.
Yeah, I'll do before. Just to give people kind of a sense. Yeah, so this song, I was with my ex at the time. And you know, we were just in love. And you know, I just want to kind of celebrate that. And it was a beat I had produced as well from that beat making frenzy I had. And I just kind of picked it out, and I just like the sonics of it for kind of like celebrating like that love we have or had. But yeah, I would say that kind of sums it up. That's a good little intro.
Okay, well, let's get into this record. Here is Pink Ocean.
I got the baddest chick, yeah, and she love all my shit, yeah, and she take all this dick, yeah, this ain't no simp shit, yeah. If I could have one wish, you'd be the first on my list. Jet skis in Ibiza, flying like I'm Freezer, so pack your shit. First class on a getaway. Snack, snack, snack. Tryna kick it like a sensei. Just let me know, babe. Cause I'm chillin' with the crew. Just turned 22. Really ain't that much to do. Tryna take you where you never been to. Let me know what to do. Know I'm grown like Groot. Want all of you like a group. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. I got the baddest chick. And she love all my shit, yeah. And she take all this dick, yeah. This ain't no simp shit, yeah. When she tell me that it's mine, ain't no holding back.
And that is Pink Ocean. So, what does your name mean?
My name, it means
Your government?
Wait, what'd you say?
That's your government, right?
Yeah, that's my government. Yeah.
I've never heard that name before.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I use it, because I don't know. I just like it fits. But yeah, it means earth and grain. And I also did like further research, and it used to be like a god back in the day, like a merman god, like but it was spelled like Dagon, not An. So that's kind of like everything I found on it, because I'm like, I don't know what that means either. But I know it's also kind of Hebrew origin as well, so like language.
I'm gonna look it up. I was just curious. I've the name before. That makes you unique. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody has the name. You ain't gonna be the only one, but out of the billions of people,
Somebody like I know they're out there, but
yeah. So, could go on with some more dialogue. How do you feel that you sabotage yourself? Self-sabotage.
Oh, that one cuts deep. Easily, it is. I would say putting too much pressure on my perfectionism, to sum it up in one word. Because like the way it works is like, you know, you want something to be so perfect that it stops you from even taking a step. And I one thing I know I need to do more is put my stuff out on TikTok for like marketing.
You and me both.
Yeah. Right? No, that facts. Like, and because of like perfectionism, because of like wanting it to be like so perfect, but the first time I do it, like I put out a couple videos, put out like 4 or something, but I always have this idea in my head of like exactly of what it should look like, and you know, I feel like if I actually make it, it won't meet that. So I would say that that's easiest the way easily the biggest way I self-sabotage is like needing things to be perfect instead of just enjoying the process and like taking it step by step. And like, again, it's like having compassion for myself, and you know, it's okay to not have it all figured out and perfect off the rip, you know, like that'll come. I didn't get to producing and making all my own songs by being perfect off the first song. Like it don't work like that. Like it's not realistic, you know, like
Unless you're me.
Yeah. Unless you're me.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But yeah, I would say that's the biggest way I self-sabotage. Just like perfectionism. 100%.
Yeah, I can 100% relate to that. I think because I want things to be like they need to look a certain way, and if I know that it's not going to look that way, I won't even attempt to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then do this place of not what's the word I want to use? I'm drawing blanks today. It's one of them days. Procrastination. There you go.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, dang, I see all these people doing all this stuff and they're getting all these hits on like TikTok and stuff. And I'm like, that's not even good content. Like, you know, and I'm like, I definitely can do something better than that. And then I see some people do the most simplest of things. And I'm like, how? And I was like, I would never do that. Like, I need to look presentable. Like, I look like trash right now, and I would normally never record anything like this with me looking how I look right now. But hey, you know, you gotta like I look like I'm a catfish. Look at the picture. Like,
you had to do yourself like that. You had to do yourself like that.
I used to work at Vans in the Ventura Mall and in the outlets. And I remember one time this girl came up to me and she's like, "Hey, I think I follow you on Snapchat." And I used to be on Snapchat heavy back in the day. And I'm like, "Oh, really?" Yeah. She's like, "Oh, you actually look way better in person." And I'm like, I was offended because I'm like, you know how many filters I put on before I even post something, and you're gonna tell me I look better in person? Like, thanks. It was a compliment.
What? That's funny.
But I'm like, as much filters and stuff that I put on, like on the internet, for you to basically say I look like, not she didn't say I look like shit there, but like, you know, like that's how I like, oh, I guess I gotta try harder. Like,
nah, but I feel like that ties into the perfectionism thing, like because you're judging yourself so hard before you even have the output, you kind of cloud your judgment, you kind of cloud your perception of how things actually are. If you take a step back from that, you know, like other people can perceive you so differently or perceive what you do so differently.
And I will just not even try. And it's something that I need to get out of because I didn't used to be like that. Like,
right.
I need to go and delete some of the stuff that I have on social media, like on YouTube. Like I have these videos, and granted, this is when I was way younger. This is like 10, 12, 11 years ago.
Right.
I was in my early 20s and stuff. And I would be saying some of the most reckless things. And I look back at it now and I was like, I would never say that. But back then, it was okay to say certain things because people weren't as sensitive as they are now.
No, I get what you're saying, 100%.
Granted, some of that stuff I shouldn't have said, like, even then. Like, it was like, I would get canceled. And there's this one particular video, I'm not going to say what I said, but I said it. And right after I said it, I was like, you should see my facial expression was like, I shouldn't have said that. Like, and I said, and I'm like, oh, well, and I still uploaded it. Like,
see, that's the opposite of perfectionism. That's honestly fine.
Yeah. And I give zero fucks, but I give too many fucks not about what other people think, but it's literally about what I think and how I feel about myself.
Same.
Yeah, because what the other people think. I'm just like, if I would criticize somebody for putting out this content, then I know I can't put that out like that.
And I saw this one thing. I forget who it was. They were talking about how you have to kind of embrace like the cringy aspects of yourself. Like, I honestly agree with it heavy because it's like, you know, like we all have that to us, like those imperfections, like those embarrassing things, those cringy things. But like to just like roll with it and just do it anyways. I was like, that's actually facts. Like,
Yeah,
it's whatever.
I'm getting there slowly, but steadily.
I've tried to too, but I gotta get on TikTok.
Get on it.
Heavy.
So what are 3 words that describe you best and why?
First one I'd probably ambitious, for one. Second I would say is
You broke up a little bit. What was the first one?
First one I would say is ambitious. Second one I would say is diligent. Third I would say is it's kind of similar to diligent, but like persistent. I would say that's one of my strongest qualities, probably just being persistent.
Yeah, I see. I can see all that. I feel like I've done over 60 podcasts with different people, and I will say that speaking with you, I feel like you are yourself. Not to say that anybody else isn't themselves, but like I can tell. Like I'm a life coach as well, so I go off of energy. I go off of people's behaviors, the things that they say, and I'm big on like what do you call it? Just
authenticity.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like a lot of times you could just tell when someone's not being 100% authentic or they're thinking so much. It may just be because they're on camera and they don't want to say
Yeah.
But tell that you're being like very authentic in yourself and you're not, you're just going with the flow. So
it's funny. It's funny you say that because I guess I didn't use that word, but that is a super important quality to me. Not just for myself, like other people too. Just interacting with people. I think the thing I value most in other people is when they are being authentic as well. Because then I just feel like you get the most kind of like enriching experience when you have two people being authentic, going back and forth. And that's also just super important to me for my music too, because again, the people I grew up on, like that music, like it sounded good, but a lot of it was like about like what they were saying too, like, and about their experience, and they were being authentic. And I feel like I shared that with those artists. So I want to be that kind of artist. Like authenticity is like at the forefront, first and foremost, before anything else.
Yeah, I love that. So to get a little more personal, what would you say makes you insecure?
When I don't feel like I'm up to par in whatever I'm doing, because I'm the type where I like to feel like I'm in control and I'm like qualified for what I'm doing. But again, like doing something new that makes me uncomfortable, like making TikToks or just kind of stepping into something that I know I'm not going to be 100% confident and like qualified in. I would say that definitely makes me insecure. Just kind of like fumbling around, like figuring out what the hell is going on. Like, that makes me insecure. What else? I don't know. I would say that one is like the primary one, just like not being qualified or like prepared fully for what I'm doing. Because it goes back to like that kind of self-worth thing of like being excellent and like perfectionist. If it's not up to par, then I don't feel secure, basically.
Do you feel that you're ever too hard on yourself?
100%. Another thing I tend to never do is give myself recognition for what I have done, because I'm always focusing on the next thing I have to do. That's one thing I know. So yeah,
do that right now.
Do it right now?
Yeah, give yourself recognition of the things that you've accomplished so far.
Yeah, I am proud of myself for like mixing, producing, mastering, creating like 10, 11. I actually have an EP I'm working on right now. It's going to be 4 tracks. So I'll call it like 13, 14 tracks. I'm actually super proud of myself that I've like done that all myself. And it's to a quality that I can be proud of. And just like, I'm also proud of the shows I've done. Cause when I don't know, maybe you saw it on Insta, the show we just did in Ventura. It was me, Mike, Uli. It was a dope show. Jericho, Ty, yeah. I think you saw that. And it was like red lit. I also did a show where do you know the artist Duckworth?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I opened up for him. That was a dope experience. I'm proud of how far I've come with how shy I used to be in terms of performing. I'm definitely proud of that because it's been a long journey. So I would say those 2 things I'm proud of.
Well, just keep that in the forefront of your mind. Because a lot of times, like
Facts, though.
No, seriously, because a lot of times, so for instance, with this podcast, like I never wanted to do a podcast. Never thought I would. It fell into my lap, I guess you could say. I did a podcast with somebody else, and I actually really liked it, but I still never thought that I would, do a podcast. 10 months later, they asked me to help out on theirs, and I was like, yeah. And I do like project managing and creative directing, in like music industry and stuff. So I'm telling him like, oh, this isn't gonna work the way you want it to work. And he's like, yeah, well, and I'm like, no, it's not. Like, it's like, this is literally impossible for you. There's not enough time for you to do this. And he's like, what's gonna work? And he was like, well, I don't think that we're just gonna work good together. And I'm like, okay, then we won't work good together. Like, I'm just telling you the truth. Like, I'm trying to help you out. Like,
yeah,
trying to do, because it's impossible. So he went on his own way, and needless to say, I was right, because he didn't accomplish any of the stuff like I tried to tell him. And I had a few friends that were just like, oh, you should just do your own podcast. And I'm like, nah. And they're like, no, why? You could do it. And I'm like, no, I don't think I can. They're like, yeah. And I was like, let me just lean in. And then when I decided to actually do it, it was so easy not to do it.
Right.
So then fast forward, the trial period was a trial period, and I don't do the podcast how I did before. I was, again, saying tasteless jokes. They're like, Will Smith would have slapped me.
Yeah. Yo.
But I was saying tasteless jokes, and I then had to go back on the next podcast and apologize for what I said, because it was granted, I shouldn't have said it. Like, it was distasteful. And I'm not a comedian. I might be really funny, and that might be a great quality that I have about myself, but I'm definitely not a comedian. So anyways, I noticed that most people were like the more motivational type of stuff that I would say at the end of the podcast. So then I'm like, how do I make that into a whole podcast? And I wasn't doing podcasts with anybody. And then come February of last year, I was like, you know what, let me just switch it up and just try this new thing or whatever. I'm just going to do guest. And I want it to be more positive, and I want, to be able to tell their story. And I remember one of my friends, he's actually an artist, Georgia Rain, and she had posted something on social media, and she was like, dang, I think it might have been something about Kardashian or something. She's like, dang, I guess you can just create whoever you want to be. And I was like, you can create your own story. And I'm like, that's the title for the podcast. Because realistically speaking, we look at all these people and we don't know them. Like, we only perceive that they're this way, but behind closed doors, they may be, something different. So again, that's why I have the podcast for people to come on here and you create your own story. Tell us who you are. Tell us what you like to do, or what you don't like, or whatever the case is. Let people come in and get to know the real you, and not just from your music. Cause I'm not saying that's not the real you guys, but just more like on a deeper level.
The piece. Yeah.
Only a fraction of what you are and who you are. And then a lot of times, like with certain artists, I know that like for them to be able to make it, they have to start off doing music that they don't even like, or that's not them. So I'm so happy about how the industry is now, or is turning now, where there's so many independent artists that are getting shine, and they're able to create stuff because they love it. They love it. This is who I am. And we see all these people accepting it and loving it. Like, not everybody's going to be Summer Walker or Doja Cat, but you can be the first you.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I just went on a little rant. But let me get into another one.
I think, just before you get to the next thing, I think it's really dope that how you kind of organically got to where you are now. I feel like that just kind of speaks to like why the perfectionism thing is so detrimental, because you would never get there had you not just taken the steps. And that's something I've kind of found out too, just by like trudging through the mud. Like, so that's really cool, like how organic it happened.
Yeah, and I have to have the podcast be organic, like, because I tried like staging it out like the first few episodes that I did, and I was saying the exact same questions in the exact same way, and I started to mess up because it was so staged. And I remember one when I was like the question I used to ask was like, with all of everything that's happened in 2020 with the racial injustice and the presidency, and I started, and it's so funny because I didn't put it on the podcast because I was editing my podcast back then, and I edited it out, but I was like, President Alexi, and I was saying the word, and I was like, I just fucked this shit up right now. And the person just started laughing, and I was like, I'm sorry. I was just like, I've done 3 in a row. And I was like, I just messed up, and it was like so funny, but it was able to, break the,
not neat.
Exactly. And so from then on, like, I'm not going to, I'm just going to go with the flow. Like, I'm not going to have it staged out. If I say something that I shouldn't say, or someone says something that they shouldn't say, or, I mess up on a word, or I can't think of anything. Oh, well, so be it. Like, I need to be able to show the authentic me, because again, this is create your own story. So I want to show the real.
100%.
So just to get into another one of your songs, I really like this one. This is one of the ones I really did listen to. Intermission.
Yes. So this one, okay. So my now ex, we had been together for 6 years, and wow. That's half a decade plus.
Yeah, real.
But this one's just about me knowing I need to grow individually, and we've just been together for so long. There's a certain comfort that comes with that, and a lot of the times in my life I've achieved the most growth is when I'm the most uncomfortable. So this song's about like that struggle between like wanting to stay with someone because you like love them and the comfort of it, but then also like loving yourself and knowing you need to like be uncomfortable again to like grow. So that's what this one's about, I would say.
Cool. Well, let's get into it.
Even when things go left, it feels right. You lay your head up in my hands like I'll never hold you again. We'll never break, only bend. Time flies, I can't recall the last time we could just lay up and spend some time. Life moves so fast nowadays, but I don't want us to delay the steps we gotta take to go different way. I'll never see no plan grow in the fucking shade. I want you in the coop, that's why I'm chasing play. Planning for tomorrow, working on the day so I can get on you. I can get high on you. It took me 18 years to find out the music's what I'm all about. Yeah. You know I never planned on it. Bear with me through the damages that I put you over and over. Drinking, sipping, pouring, thinking. How I can't make a mess between us. Gotta earn my stripes just like Adidas. Or glowing like your first name, Rita. Girl, you bad as hell and I've been thinking lately. One day I'm gonna come over and get you right.
Really like
Appreciate
it. So, what would you say your favorite imperfection about yourself is? If you have any. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm actually a narcissist. I don't have any.
I can't hear you.
I said, yeah, I'm actually a narcissist.
Oh, wait, that's my fault. Ooh, say it again. I'm so sorry.
I said, yeah, I'm actually a narcissist. I don't have any imperfections.
I know if you're narcissist.
No, but I don't know. I don't want to call it an imperfection, but like, yeah, no, I don't know. I don't think that's as a fitting answer. I was gonna say like, because when I was younger, I used to like give to other people like a lot to the point of like to where it'd be a detriment to myself.
Fire.
I feel like that's the most fitting answer for me. I wouldn't call it an imperfection, but it's kind of just like quality that can kind of hurt me.
When's your birthday?
July 9th.
You're Cancer?
Yeah.
Oh, you're emotional. Keep going with what you're saying.
Honestly, you're right. Like I'm very in tune with emotions. So I used to be the type where I'd give a lot to people and like try to energize them and like make them feel good. And that was to my detriment a lot of the time because it was like imbalance. Like I would do that too much to where it would be like negative towards myself. So I would say that's my biggest like imperfection, like balancing giving to people and like giving to myself, kind of like the last song you just played. Like that's literally what it's about. Like
that's on so many. I feel like we relate on a lot of things. Like this but I'm gonna play this. This is Nivea talking, and I played this on one of my other podcasts. But like when I say that I can relate so much to this, and I feel that you are going to be able to relate to what she says here too, and I really want to. Important. It's literally something that I've had to what you're saying I've had to deal with because I'm a giver in nature, and I at me helping others is a way of helping myself make me feel better. But at the same time, then when you do it too much or too often or whatever, it starts to drain you.
Yep.
And then it's like you're drained, you're doing the right thing or you're doing something that's positive, but it's like, and I always tell people like for the most part, nobody can take advantage of me. The reason being is because whether it doesn't matter who you are, I would have done this for you anyways.
Right.
So it's not that you're taking advantage of me, but still I'm giving more of you than I can afford to. And I'm not even realizing that. And then I've gotten to places where I'm like depressed is because I've emptied out. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'm going to play this clip and then we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Now I don't want to play. See, technical difficulties, y'all.
I mean, I did want to respond real quick to what you said too. Like, that's something I've had to learn to balance too. Like when people would take advantage of me, I kind of shifted all the way to the other side. It was like, okay, now I'm just going to be selfish and only worry about me. But now I'm at the place where it's like I've kind of I want to be in the middle. Like I want to still give to people, but then if they show me that they are going to take advantage of that, then I just pull away and just continue and do that for the next person, like just staying in that kind of mind state, but then also not giving to people
it's
that
not so
don't
much that
give
people
back,
take advantage of it as more so for me is that you're just not appreciative of what I've done.
Right.
Like I give you my heart and you give me your ass to kiss in a sense. Like, that and so many people that I've done so much for. When I mean like I've given the last, and I'm just like, and you just throw me to the wayside. Like I don't even matter. Like, like I'm just like
100%.
Working now. So I'm going to play this clip. Here we go. Oh yeah, I have to push play.
Really go overboard with love. Like I will drown in the other person.
What's your
Very
sign?
unhealthy. Aries, March Aries.
My goodness.
What's your sign?
Oh my goodness.
Yes, it's not healthy. It's not healthy to be that way. I'm still working on that actually. Balance and giving myself what I need instead of I'm such a I want to please you person. Not even just in relationships, in all my relationships
in life.
Period, with my family and my friends. Like I will overdo it. I'll take so much from me for you, which ended up taking me out damn near.
And hurting you.
Yeah, I got real low. And I'll never get that low again, thank you, Lord. But I got so low because I was depleted. I had nothing for me. I couldn't inspire, I couldn't be optimistic anymore. I couldn't pump myself back up. It just wasn't, I had nothing left.
Yeah, that was that clip of Nivea, R&B singer Nivea, talking about that. And it just, what you were saying just reminded me of that clip. And I like relate wholeheartedly to that because I've been there several different times with 7 different people. And it's like, it's one of those things like, oh God, I get it. But it's like, I keep learning the same lessons. Like I can't keep giving all of me. And there's a incident recently where I had to like put myself, I'm not going to say it on the podcast. Me and the person are still cool and I'm not going to put them on Front Street like that. Like they didn't do anything wrong. But I noticed that I needed to be by myself. I needed to do me. In a sense or whatever. And there's this other song by, I don't know if you know the artist, Samo.
I think I've heard of her, but I don't listen.
To him. So no, the answer is no. But when I tell you, you have to listen to his music. I had him on, I was blessed to have him on my podcast. That was my dream podcast guest. And I had him on within 3 months of me actually putting the podcast out. And there's something that, here's a song, and I don't think I played it on the podcast, but there's this song that he has called what's it called? Hold on, let me look it up because it's gonna bug me now. Let You Go. That's what the song's called. Let You Go. And it basically it's about like letting people go, or the person that, the people you care about go because they're really not serving you no purpose, or, they're basically harming you, even though that's maybe not their intention, but you're giving so much or whatever, that you need to let go. And then he has this other song called Focus. And then there's this other one called Focus is basically about like focusing on yourself. And that's so hard for me because there's a borderline of being selfish, and I'm such a selfless person that when I'm even selfish, I feel bad.
Yep.
So you get me.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly.
And then there's this another song, My Space, that he has, and it's not about the but it's about like just owning your space in life and everything. And there's a thing that he said, and we talked about it on the podcast, and he was saying there's a line that says, people died on me that are still alive today on this earth. And it's so deep because like people like will literally like I said, throw you to the wayside. Like you've done so much for these people, whatever, and you realize that they really don't care. And then you've done so much for so much time that they basically take it as like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do.
Take it for granted.
And then once you like wing yourself back a little bit, then they're like, oh, you're being fake, or you're being, and it's like, it's not that I'm giving you too much. And now I'm feeling empty, and I have broken down from that. Like I remember one time when I was at Vans, to be very transparent, I remember I was at Vans working or whatever. It was like around December, November. No, it was January. I remember that. And this is years back, and someone called me like, oh, did you do this for me? And I fucking broke down and I just started crying, and I had to call somebody. I'm like, can you come fill in at the store? I can't be here. Like, I cannot be here. And they're like, yeah, sure, I'll be on my way. And I just like left, and like what they said didn't necessarily bother me, but it was just like somebody else asking for something I'm giving, I can give right now. So I've gone through that too many times to count, but now like I can't anymore.
I completely get what you're saying. And that's another reason music is really important to me, because it was kind of the medicine for that. Like it was something I could pour myself into instead, and like still get fulfillment and still feel like I'm being selfless. And like, cause like to me, I feel like my music can be selfless in the way of like, if somebody's going through a similar experience, they can like relate and like feel like heard and seen. Like I know some of my favorite songs of all time over the years have been songs that do that for me, like ones that make me feel seen and heard through whatever situation I'm going through. So like music was like the thing I shifted my attention to from people once I kind of realized, as you did as well, like I can't keep giving my all to people that don't appreciate it. So that's why music is super important to me too, because it's the thing I can pour myself into instead, and it'd be healthy and not get lost, you know, in the other person.
Yes, and I often do that. Even with my last friendship that I had, well, it's not my last friendship, but a friendship that I had, we were extremely close, like my brother, and we are no longer friends anymore.
But you like that.
Yeah, but and I'm okay with that. I'm happy with the fact, because I realized after being that person's friend, after the friendship ended, how I didn't realize, like, I can look back at it now. I was like, oh, I was so unhappy. I wasn't myself. I was so like, I was giving so much of me to you that I didn't even, I didn't even realize like things that like I can laugh at certain little things now, and I just don't feel the needed stress or the pressure of being your friend or making sure that I'm there for you all the time. I was putting too much on myself to make sure that you were okay when you wouldn't do the same for me.
Oh yeah, that was like the first 12, 13, we'll say 14 years of my life, honestly, was that 100%.
I'm glad you're in recovery.
Yeah, right. That's the perfect way to put it, honestly.
Yeah, right now, but you can relapse at any time.
Yeah, it is like a drug, because you feel like you feel like you have inherent worth when you're like helping someone else, like, because you're like, I helped this person, I must have like worth. Like it is like a drug in that way. It definitely is.
No, very much so. So this is a question that I ask, and hopefully you understand it, because most people don't get what I say when I ask this question, but it's what expectations do you have of yourself? So just to give a little more backstory. So with expectations, sometimes we put expectations on other people, like, and granted, people say like, oh, you should never put expectations on people. That's false. I'm a life coach. I am certified. I went to school for this, and I'm letting you know that you can put expectations on people when they have walked into those expectations. Like if someone tells you like, oh, I'm going to be there for you, and then they are not there for you. Well, yeah, you expected them to be there for you because they said they would. So in certain cases you can, and there's a difference between expectation and standards, but we'll get into that a whole nother day. But the expectations, sometimes you put something on yourself, and sometimes we fall short, like we disappoint ourselves. So what expectations do you have on yourself that you don't want to, quote unquote, let yourself down in these particular ways?
Yeah, the expectations I have myself are definitely, my first quality I said was ambitious. It's not that I see a certain amount of like fame or like, acclaim. Like it's not that for me. It's more so like I just have the expectation that like I constantly am like growing and like getting better. And what that destination looks like, I don't really know, to be honest, like what that actually looks like. But like meeting new people, branching out, like having new collaborations, doing a different style I've never done before, having better lyrics, getting better at songwriting, having better production, having more nuances in my songs. Like to me, that's the expectation I have on myself in general. It's just like always be like taking a step, like, and always like kind of reinventing myself over time, and like kind of shedding my skin and staying true to the person I am in the moment as the years go by. I would say that's like the expectation I have myself. Because in the past, I've had like very specific ideas of what it should look like. And not only does that block your blessings, in my opinion, but it also just kind of limits like what you can achieve if you let it flow. So yeah, it's nothing specific for me. Like the expectation is just more general of like just challenging myself and improving on myself, and continuing to just put myself out there, because I would say I'm an extroverted person naturally, but I can have times where I'm very introverted. So just continue to be on the extroverted side and like putting myself out there to have more life experience and new experiences. I would say those, like all of those things, like the expectations I have for myself, definitely.
Okay, I love that. I love that answer. I can ultimately relate to that 100%. I oftentimes I ask you guys these questions, and I thought of the questions, but I never thought of actually answering them.
Yeah.
So like when you guys are on the spot having to ask these questions, I think, and I'm like, dang, I don't even know if I'd be able to answer that. Like, no one's asking me these questions. I don't think about that stuff. It's always different being on the other side of the thing, like being quote unquote interviewed or having a conversation with. So it's why ultimately I always want to, like, when I do these podcasts and stuff, to say, say something back as well. So y'all don't feel like it's strictly interview. I want it to be a conversation. I want it to be easygoing and,
Yeah, no, and I've never talked to you before, so I want to hear your answer too. Like, I want to get to know you as well. Like, I don't want it to just be. But
expectations that I put on myself. I would have to say a big answer would be being a good person. That's very big. But I have a really big heart for people. I love people. Granted, I hate people too. But but for the most part, like if I see somebody in need, like I want to be there for them. Like my line's always open if someone needs to talk or something like that. And I pride myself on that. If I'm close with somebody and they need to talk or need something like that, granted, don't ask me for any money. Depending on the situation, I may say yes, but like don't ask me for no money. But I'm just saying in general, if you need somebody to be there for you, like I pride myself of always being available. And that's something that I hold myself, my expectation high on that. Like, I'm always going to be there if somebody needs me, because I know that sometimes there's some people in this world that really don't have anybody. And when I say don't have anybody, it's not always the feeling that they don't have anybody, but sometimes they don't feel like they can go to certain people. So it's not to say that they don't have anybody, but sometimes they don't feel it, so I always want people to know, like, oh, you can, talk to me about anything, like it stays here, or if I'm able to help, I definitely will. And I feel that I'm easy to talk to. Granted, I've been told that several times by people, and I just meet them. So that's a good quality to have. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know how I possess it, but I'm assuming God just gave me that. That is my talent. And I feel that we all have talents and we possess certain things, but just helping others, I feel like, yeah, being a good person is what I think it's the little things. It's really little things. And I think that those are the things that set you apart from being a good person or a bad person. I was talking to a friend, and this is like something so little, but I believe that this sets people apart. So like, for instance, I went to Wendy's a couple weeks ago, actually maybe about a month ago, and it was for breakfast. And Wendy's sells breakfast now. But if you lived in Arizona, they've been selling it for years. But they sell breakfast now, and I got I got 4 like egg McMuffins and like 2 coffees. So I get to the window, and I hand her my card, and I see on the window that says that, oh, if you get a breakfast sandwich or whatever, you get a free coffee in any size. And I'm like, oh, did I get the coffee for free? And she's like, no, you have to tell us that. And I'm like, but on the thing when I ordered, so how would I even know that I'm supposed to tell you that if it's only on the window right here? And she's like, well, you have to tell us that. And I was like, well, where does it say that? And she's all like, so she does the refund and gives me my money back for that and gives me the coffee for free. But it's like, you work at this place, it does not come out of your paycheck. So doing me that solid, or like, oh, hey, just so you know that the coffee's free, like that shows how good of a person somebody is. Like it's the little things. Like it's something so simple of you just bringing it for free because it's supposed to be for free when you order a sandwich. If I would have seen that sign over there, I would have asked you. like you guys put it here for a reason, like trying to make more money, then why the hell are you offering it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like the little things like that. And I remember another time where I felt so bad for years about this this guy that works at, he used to work at Walmart grocery store, and he was ringing me up and he was asking questions. Cool. And his boss comes up, and I guess he had did something, and she was like scolding him in front of like us. And I wanted to say something so bad, but I didn't. And when I left out of the store, I felt so bad. And I was like, I should have stood up for him or said something like, I would, but like, don't disrespect him in front of us. Or like, you know, that you don't do that. That's not a good manager.
I'm about to say, that's not professional or good leadership. Like, what?
And I felt so extremely bad that I didn't say anything. Like, and so fast forward to the end of this year or whatever, my friend, she's like, oh yeah, I got a new roommate or whatever. And I'm like, oh really? And it was a guy or a girl. And she's like, I was like, oh, is he ugly? Or, you know, because I'm like, this sounds bad, but I only have decent looking friends. And it's no shade. And it's really true. Like whether you're big or you're super underweight or whatever the case is, like you're still decent looking. Like, you know, I don't have any ugly friends. So anyways, because I asked that question because I want to know, like, oh, can I be friends with him or not? Like, if he's ugly, then it's gonna be a no, a dub, you know. But so anyways, she shows me the picture, and I was like, wait a minute, I know him. And she's like, what? I was like, and I told her the story. So he comes out of the room, he's like, hey, I know you. And I was like, I know you. So I was able to apologize for him. He didn't even remember the incident.
Wow.
But it had been on, like, I would never forget that. Like, it had been on my heart for years.
That's wild.
Defend him or whatever. So I was able to still apologize or whatever. And like, he's a cool dude. But like, just little things like that, I think that set good people apart and bad people. Even just like when we were in the pandemic and wearing masks. Like some people like, oh, I'm vaccinated, I'm not gonna wear my mask. And I'm like, well, the mask, yeah, is to protect you, but it's not about you. Like, I'm vaccinated too, and I still wear my mask. It's just so other people feel comfortable. It's solely just because of that. Like, if I get COVID, I get COVID. But I'm wearing the mask so other people feel comfortable. Like, and it's just that simple. Like, it's just the difference between a good person and a not so great person.
Definitely get what you're saying. Like, those little things. Makes sense.
Let me play the last song and before I let you go. Wrong phone. And this is, I guess, the last single that you actually put out. Why has it been so long since you put out music?
Yeah, so I actually, before now, I started working right after I dropped that song. And when I dropped that song, I was doing a song a month. One song every month. And then I had basically gone from working on music full time to like the two. And also just now, like, I realized like I had a lot of songs kind of saved up, and then I realized I want to drop like a EP coming up right now before summer. So that's why I haven't been dropped in a while. I've just been kind of going deep on songs again, and like I was like crafting like, what do I want to be on this EP, like what's cohesive. So my next drop is going to be like more than one song. That's kind of why I've been kind of building it up.
Well, this song is called Need Ya, and you can tell after I play it. So here we go.
Yeah.
Baby girl, I need ya. Baby, for I just can't let go. I just wanna please ya. Love you from your head down to your toes. Now we're building a momentum. Do you want it fast or want it slow? Don't talk and give an answer. I know how you like it, don't disclose. Baby girl, I need ya, like I need the air I breathe. Got you hypnotized like I'm B.I.G. I just wanna please ya. With you splitting at the seams, throwing curveballs like I'm in Major League. Baby, plus she knows she ain't no gold. Never asked no one for nothing, yeah, she got it on her own. Working overtime if need be, yeah, independent shows. Don't need no one to augment her, but I had to let him know. And she bad herself for sure. Baby girl, I need ya. Baby, before I just can't let go. I just wanna please ya.
Like that one. Very groovy. So one of the last questions that I have, I ask everybody this, but if you could be in a room with 3 people and have a conversation, whether they're dead, alive, who would those 3 people be an intimate dinner with, and why? And I know I would probably be one of them, but you don't have to say me.
Damn, 3 people. One would probably be I don't know if you know the rapper Capital Steez.
Mm-hmm.
He would definitely be one. Who else?
And why?
Yeah, for him, I don't know. I just really relate to him because he came up the same time I did, like in New York too. And the values he had with like music and just like life. He was very heavy on like being authentic and like how in the industry, as you said, people create songs to pop off, but it may not necessarily be in alignment with like who they actually are. And he put like the meaning first and everything else came second. And I think it's gotten better now, but there was definitely a period of time where like music was just kind of like, you have to kind of make a certain type of thing to pop off. And to stay on too, even to stay on. It's kind of like a game you have to play, branding and stuff. I like how he was just kind of raw. And, that's kind of what hip hop was about when it was born too. It was just about being raw. Like, it's not about being like branded or perfect or polished. Like, it's, we're throwing together turntables, like, and we're just getting down. Like, it's not that deep. It's not that crazy. So that's why for him, just kind of the kind of person he was, the character he had, I would just like to have a conversation with him and see like how his mind works. Other 2 people though. Second would probably be I would probably say Jay-Z, because not like just music, but like business, like the things he chooses to invest in. Also, he's married to Beyonce. That's a dub. But yeah, just for him, like, just like the business, like the mindset he had going into rap and how he used that as a vehicle for like his business endeavors, and just investments. Cause like I invest too. Like I would love to have a conversation with him about like how he thinks about things to leverage his strengths to make money with them, just from a business, I'd love to have a conversation with him about that. And then the last one, kind of want to do a dead person.
I kind of want to do a dead person.
I feel like it would either be like MJ or like James Brown.
Okay.
Yeah. Because in one of my songs, actually, Blind Eye, I take a segment of like what a James Brown, like a interview he did. It was just talking about like kind of like what we were talking about, like or a little bit like kind of like character in people and like giving to people. And when you need to kind of do certain things yourself and like give back to yourself. He was just a pioneer, like in art too, like with funk, like he's just a pioneer. Like he just did it his own way. I would just love to talk to him because I could tell he had like a brilliant mind. And MJ, you know, for obvious reasons, like, but again, MJ was about meaning too. Like he has songs that were like had a lot of meaning, like, you know, man.
Words to what's the song called? Annie, are you okay? Smooth Criminal.
Yeah.
I did not realize that the song was about like the girl getting like raped and beat. Your face changed. Listen to the first verse, and he's basically saying like, "I see the blood splatter on the floor." But I never, and I was like, literally, I found out like a few weeks ago, and I seen it on TikTok or something, and I'm like, TikTok University.
Oh God, what?
Yes, I seen it on TikTok, and I was like, what? And then I went back and I looked up the lyrics and I listened to the song, and I'm like, oh, it really is about a girl, and he's asking her like, "Are you okay?" Because he like beat you up, he snuck into your house and basically got away with it. He was a smooth criminal.
Oh my! I'm finna listen to that because that is new. It just sounds so damn good. You know, the lyrics just kind of slip your.
It's danceable, like you know. Annie, are you okay?
That's crazy. I was gonna say like "Man in the Mirror" and songs like that, but oh my God, I did not know that.
Yeah, you should. I'm glad that I got your facial expression on camera.
I did not know that. Now I'm getting it. Like, damn.
But like, literally covered it because you can never understand what him and Janet are saying. No way.
Yeah.
In there, but that song is would have known.
I did not. But yeah, I would say those are my probably top three. I definitely have more, but yeah, we'll call that the top three.
Well, I would love to have you on the podcast again to get a little more deeper. Probably when your EP comes out, we'll have to have you.
Yeah, I'd be super down for that.
Is there anything, or tell the people where they can find you, find your music?
Yeah, so you can find me on Spotify. I just go under Dagan. You can find me on SoundCloud. I go under Dagan. If you're having trouble finding me, you could just type in Dagan with the last song Terrell just played, Nidia. You could type that into Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud. I'm on all of that. So if you just type in DAGAN and then Nidia for the streaming platforms, you'll find all my catalog. And then if you want to find me on Insta, my handle is dagan.music. Yeah, I think that's everything. Yeah.
And besides the EP, what's next for you? What is the future?
No, yeah. EP. I mean, I definitely want to be on TikTok more. But yeah, I'm at a point right now where it's like, I don't really know. Like, I just got out of a 6-year relationship. You know, I thought I had all these plans. What'd you say?
I said, I didn't realize that you just got out of it. See, we definitely.
Oh, yeah. It's fresh. It's fresh.
I'm asking you different questions now.
Yeah, no, it's fresh. Like, it was last December, I want to say. Yeah, just at the end of last year. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's funny you asked that because I thought I knew, but this is very much a period of time for me where it's like I don't really want to know. Like I'm just open to everything, type of thing, you know.
I always tell people what's your 5-year plan. I was like 5 years. I don't even know what I'm gonna do tomorrow.
Yeah. No, for real. Like I'm not the biggest planner. I like to focus more like on what I'm doing today to get me to where I want to be eventually, you know, like in all aspects. That's what I try to focus on more.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Always, guys, you know, you can find me, Terrell Garnett _ that's TERRELGARNETT _ and that's on all social media platforms. And we will talk to you guys soon. And that's all we have for you today. I hope you enjoyed yourself on this episode of Create Your Own Story with Terrell Garnett. We'll catch you next time.